Oh, hi guys, it's ChelsTalks. Girl Chow, and I'm here to...
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Sorry.
To the people I...
YouTube is your best friend.
It was always like
learning never stops.
Nah. Early on, I've been inspired by many different writers, especially musicians. You know, one of my favourite growing up was probably Jay-Z. Was a big fan of him, and a lot of UK musicians as well. Love Kano, Sway, obviously the father Dizzy. You know, yeah. But outside of that, you know, these are the kind of people that shaped me creatively, and then more intellectually. I've always been a fan of like entrepreneurs and athletes. You know, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, Steve Jobs. Yeah, so many people. Anyway, yeah, we'll get into that interview anyway. Yeah, cool, man.
So we're gonna start by just telling them, how did you get into becoming Suli Breaks?
I think I've always been passionate from a young age about words and stories. You know, I mean, I think I read The Hobbit when I was like in year 6, which may not be impressive to some people, but to me and my peer group, that was kind of like quite a big read. You know, I mean, I read Lord of the Rings in like year 7, so I always like telling stories. But it's only when I kind of discovered music, maybe when I was in like year 11 or year 10, like really discovered music as an instrument, especially like not just talking about hip hop, when grime started emerging and stuff like that, that I realised there was a way to take words and communicate them directly to my people in a way that they would listen. So that's what kind of shaped that kind of lyrical, kind of poetic aspect of it, you know what I mean? But I've always had this synchronicity between loving words and storytelling and always wanting to tell people like a message, you know?
Why do you think you picked poetry and spoken word over creating music?
Oh, mine's quite simple. It's quite a practical decision. So I grew up, I'm Muslim, so I grew up in a Muslim household, you know what I mean? So there was always this kind of like taboo associated with music. So it was kind of like, although like I listened to music, it was always like this narrative that it's never going to be feasible for you to be a musician, you know what I mean? You couldn't do it, it's not right, it's haram or whatever. So kind of like early on I was like, oh, if I'm not going to do music but I still have this passion, maybe I could do like poetry. So even though I still like didn't have a massive like kind of like resistance against music, it was more like poetry was like more practically something I could do and not get in quote unquote trouble, like, you know what I mean?
That makes sense, that makes a lot of sense. So in your day-to-day, just so people at home know, like, what is it like for you, the life of Suli Breaks, in terms of free time, workload?
I think there's no like day-to-day, because every day kind of changes, you know what I mean? There's a period where like I could like be traveling like every other like week, you know what I mean? Like I've been to one country, been in London for a day, then I'm back to the other country, you know what I mean? Just performing back and forth. And then there's sometimes where I'm just in my room writing the same thing for like 5 days, or editing a video for like 3-4 days, or sometimes we're filming one day, you know, wake up like I woke up at 6 a.m, you film till like 7 p.m, you know, and then you're on to the next thing. I think the only constant that's happened in my life is since having my son, I kind of have one day a week or more than one day a week, but there's days in the week where I know that, okay, I'm just going to be with him, kind of, I'm saying, when he's not going to like his grandma's or whatever, you know what I mean? So I think that's it. But day to day, it's a business, you know what I mean? And whenever you're CEO or you're like CFO or whatever of your own business, everything you do is every day is business. So if I woke up this morning at 6:30, I've immediately got to finish writing something that I started working on the day before. But then on top of that, I know that on Thursday I'm going to Norfolk. We're going to these studios to record some stuff for this band. So it's kind of like I've got to write that as well, get that ready.
How do you manage your free time then? How do you make sure that you have enough time for family and yourself?
I think I'm still finding the balance, because I think when you do something like what I do, even though it's hard work, I still feel like it's for myself, because when I make a piece of art or I finish something, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that's banging. Like, I feel fulfilled. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I feel even though that's not necessarily free time, I still feel like it's free time.
You're doing what you love.
Exactly.
So it kind of integrates into one.
Yeah, and I can do it at my own pace. So if I want to do something and I want to watch something on Netflix at the same time, there's no one saying to me, why are you not being productive? Why are you not doing it faster? But then there's sometimes you have to hit deadlines, because it's a business. You know, you got to do. That's when it kind of drags sometimes. When you got to do like this project for this time and for this person, with these requirements.
This sounds chaotic.
Yeah, but it's cool.
Least, but fun.
Yes, I mean, there's worse ways to live your life, you know what I mean?
Definitely. So how long have you been doing this for?
I'd say probably 2009. Almost like 10 years now, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's not wow, considering that, I used to think that wow, but then I think, considering that the first years, anyone who does something, some people doing stuff since they was a kid, you don't make no money off it, no one's taking you seriously. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's only since like 2012, which was quite fortunate for me, that I was able to start making it into a career. You know, that's when I didn't have a job anymore. I'm not working, you know what I mean? I could commit to it. So I used to think 10 years, wow, like, but then I thought about it and thought, most of the time, the first few years, no, you're not really doing it, you know what I mean?
See, no success happens overnight.
Yeah, 100%.
So would you say there's been a significant person who's helped influence your career?
Yeah, I mean, my wife, who was like was you know, my wife now, but she was my girlfriend before, whatever. I mean, like, so I've been there for 10 years. We've been together for almost like 11 years. You get what I'm saying?
So she's been there.
Yeah, you kind of get what I'm saying. So if anyone single-handedly, like outside of like my parents ever, who came in and influenced, that's probably the person who kind of like gave me a different outlook and gave me like a lot of kind of like consistent drive to kind of like just keep on growing together within it, you know what I mean?
That's so lovely.
Oh, thank you.
So you've said you've done it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Is there been a specific skill that you've had exposure to or gained along the way that's had the most influence on your career?
That's a good question. I think the most important thing I've learned, and it may not be a skill, but it's more mentality. I think it's consistency. And I'm not even talking about like perseverance. Like, I think perseverance is like to keep on going regardless of obstacles. I'm talking about consistency, like doing what you do on a regular basis and making sure that whatever your objective is, you're delivering. Because I've seen people who haven't been that great and they've applied consistency. Sometimes they've got better, or sometimes they've just managed to get people to like what they were doing, even if it wasn't that great. And that's the one thing that I think I've always. And I mean, this may change as I grow and see more, because I'm still learning all the time. But
that's
I think
an important thing to touch on. Like, learning never stops.
Nah, I'm still learning, man. I'm learning like so many different aspects of my business, my career. But I think consistency is one skill that I was like, okay, if I'm gonna start doing something, I know that if I follow through, there's going to be some kind of end result. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? But that's probably the one thing that's like, it's a constant. Like,
I can hear how important it is to you just by how you're saying
No,
it.
Trust me, I've seen it. It is important.
So along your way and along your journey, what's been one big thing that you've loved the most?
Just being free, man. You know what I mean? I'm coming from a place where like I used to work, like I've worked all kinds of jobs, you know what I mean, like supermarket, like builder, cleaning, all this stuff. So I think freedom is what I love the most, and that was kind of epitomised when I took this trip. A friend of mine, he supported it, and I travelled around the world in 80 days, you know, like the book, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we went to like parts of the world I'd never seen before, all in like a condensed 3-month period, you get what I'm saying? So we're going to like from India to like Japan to like China to Australia to LA, you know what I'm saying? And that was just like mind blowing, because it just changed the way I see every, you know what I mean? I think it's easy to get a self-contained mentality, you know what I mean? Like to try and grow within where you are, which is cool, but once you see the world, you just get a different perspective on what you want, you know what I mean, and what's available.
Would you say like there's obviously people get trapped in the environment that they're born into? They don't realise, some people don't realise that there is life outside the environment.
100%.
It kind of acts like a comfort blanket. That's what I think personally. But in terms of like your 80-day trip around the world, do you feel like that kind of like made you, like that eye-opening trip? I think
it contributed significantly. You know what I mean? I think I wouldn't want to make it the single defining factor, because even like you said, people get caught in like a certain like environment, and that's it. Like, I grew up, I was in Wood Green. If I'd stayed in Ends, I went university in Sheffield. If I'd never left, I would have never started doing poetry, even, because like I wasn't going to tell the man them that I'm writing poems, you know what I'm saying? It was like you're either doing grime, or you're doing hip hop, or you're doing a little singing thing somewhere or the other, you know what I mean? So I feel like that contributed significantly.
That broke you out of that
even more. So I think that removal from the environment and even to this day, like I didn't realise, because I travel so much, I didn't realise how important that is for me to be removed from my environment, to clear my head. You know what I'm saying? So even just recently, I was like, you know what? Sometimes I forget how important that is.
Yeah, it gives you peace of mind.
Yeah, it
That's
gives
what
you,
I believe.
Yeah.
So, on the flip side of things, what's been one of the hardest parts of your journey, and what did it teach you?
Oh man, I've had so many. You know, I mean, up until this day, I mean, I've been booed off stage. You know, what I mean, we're talking like, I remember one of the biggest shows I've ever done. Like, and I step on stage, and they just started booing. It was mad. It was mad.
Wow.
It was just not the time for it, and it was like talking like 800 people just booing. Like I didn't even finish. Yeah, that was a tough one. But it's kind of like moments like that just teach you that. Like, teach you how committed you are to what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because that was like ego wise, that was like devastating. I mean, proper devastating.
I can imagine.
You know what I mean? But you come back the next week and you're just like, okay, cool. And but a year later, you realise that I can make a joke about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I feel like even though it's a hard lesson to learn, like every like big failure, it's kind of like, you know, that in hindsight you're gonna be able to look back at it. So that kind of motivates you to get through the one that's happening right now.
Yeah. I feel like if you look at a moment when it's throwing bad stuff at you, you need to look at it from a different angle and be like, what is this teaching me?
100%. And that's the biggest lesson that I think I always get. There is like
a lesson in everything.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. Good or bad. And if you're sometimes you're too emotional to search for it, but sometimes all it takes is time, and you can kind of figure out what that lesson is.
Yeah. Talking about lessons, we move swiftly on to education.
Yeah, let's talk about education.
Do you feel like education played a part in your career choice?
Yeah, but not necessarily formal education. Okay, so my formal education had the adverse effect because obviously I went to university and I learned and stuff, but what it made me then do was turn around and reflect on that educational institution and be like, what did I learn really? What education, what did I know about education? So then it was like, how do I actually educate myself, you know what I mean, to a point where I feel fulfilled, or to a point where I feel like I am growing intellectually, like mentally, do you understand? So it wasn't until I graduated that I started reading self-help books and books about like how to build this, how to do that, you know what I mean? Because then I started to realise, this, what I was doing prior, obviously there was value in it. Like, I'm not saying there wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of value in it, but not for me, not what I was trying to do. So I need to find another way to educate myself, you know, I think.
So like your choices of higher education led you to pursue another career.
To even higher form of education. Exactly. But I would never be like, oh, education. I mean, I'd say all the time, it was a waste of time, but it wasn't a waste of time because I learned a lot through that process, you know what I mean?
Outside of the academic side.
Outside that, you know what I mean? I don't feel, I'm not knocking the academic side, I just think for me specifically, that wasn't, I didn't make most advantage of the academics. Like, if I knew what I knew now, going to university, the opportunities I would have been able to leverage. Like, I always tell people, even in university, like, if you're trying to do anything, it's the perfect ground because you have, like, facilities available for you. You have people around you who you know are enthusiastic about that, and on top of that, you have time, you know what I mean? You're not working a job, you know what I mean? You're not, your priority is being in that space, so you can make the most of it. You can build with like-minded people, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's what I had to learn after education, to be able to tell people that are in education, I would be like, here's the value that you can take from it.
That's such a good point. Thanks for that.
No, it's cool.
Do you know any like higher educational choices that people who would like to do what you're doing could look into? It doesn't even have to be like uni, it could be a course, it could be another resource. Yeah,
I feel like, to be honest, I'm always like, I feel like the process of education is to expand your mind creatively, do you understand what I'm saying? So, or to make you curious. So I'm always like, I'd say, like, take any course. I'll be like, as long as you know that you can find something about it that you find interesting. So even if it's philosophy, English, if it's film or whatever, just don't do something for the ultimate sake of, when I finish this, well, unless you want to be a doctor where you've made a certain, when I finish this, I want to go and get this job that makes me, do you kind of get what I'm saying? Because that's not necessarily intrinsically linked, you know what I mean? There's no guarantee that, unless you're a doctor or a dentist, that this job is going to lead you into this role. So I'd always say, like, if you wanted to do, like, become like an artist, I'd just say do something creative, do something that allows you to be creative on a consistent basis. It could be media, it can be art, it can be architecture if you want, do you understand what I'm saying? But something that allows you to continue nurture that muscle, because what you find about life is that the most important things are interchangeable and transferable skills, not fixed skills. Not just the ability to do one thing, but the ability to take this thing that you've learned here and apply it here and apply it here. And you understand what I'm saying? So even if you want to do business studies and you know you're doing it creatively, that's what I'd say to people do. Just don't limit it to be like, I'm going to learn one skill set that allows me to do this. And you know, it's all about discovery.
Transferable skills are key to succeed.
100%.
Don't limit yourself.
100%.
So in terms of rewind. So in terms of for God's sake, rewind again.
No, we'll edit that, don't worry.
Yeah. So you've touched on so many things about like how other people can explore different skills and use them to like be transferred across different sectors and stuff.
Yeah.
But for people who want to do what you do,
Yeah.
what would your specific recommendation be?
For what I do, it's hard because I studied law, you know what I mean? I still found aspects of that help. I guess if it was specifically for what I'm doing, I'd say study film, you know what I mean? Because I think a big part of this kind of media generation is how you can communicate it to the masses, and like as it stands right now, that's through social media platforms which are specifically visual. So maybe film or photography, where you can communicate everything you have in here to the audience in a way that they can receive it on these platforms, especially if you want to be independent, you know what I mean? So I'd say study something, because you can be the best writer in the world, but if you can't find a way to communicate that to the people that are watching or the people that are engaged, then it's kind of like, what's the, you know, I mean, or you can study performing arts if you really want to be refined in the skill of performing. But I'm more of an advocate for independence all the time. So I'm like, how can you learn something that allows you to independently keep on creating an infrastructure?
Thank you. But you touched on social media and the power of it.
Yeah.
I tend to think that when social media, the biggest thing that it can have influence on is in terms of like a brand.
Yeah.
How would you say people can establish their own brand and the importance of it?
Yeah, I think how you can establish your brand, and it's something I had to learn later in my career, is consistency. Like, establishing a brand is all about consistency, having a consistent look, a consistent voice, a consistent direction that your message wants to go. And I think the important thing to do that, and which is one of the hardest things, is as early as you can, identify what you want to represent. You know what I'm saying? Once you identify what you want to represent, then you start to cultivate all the aspects around that tie in with that vision you want to represent. You know, I think that's the best way to kind of like, but it's hard because as we're growing, we're becoming different people. You know what I mean? And as our careers are developing, there's different expectations. So because it's business, you're an individual, but this is business, and you have to think who you can brand yourself as at the start of your career may ultimately change for who you can brand yourself as like later on in your career. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So so the way you may start with one specific brand, it may evolve later down the line. You may think, okay, I need to start branding myself differently, you know. So it's,
how do you think people can make themselves stand out?
Stand out? It's a tough one because you can do anything to make yourself stand out. People can do dumb stuff to make them stand out. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I think your question is how can people make themselves unique? I guess that's a tough one, man. Because even the people that you think are unique, sometimes I guess the way to make yourself unique is taking multiple influences and reinventing themselves. Because even the people that you think are unique, they're just a lot of different variations of things that have come and they've kind of like found a way to make it their own. And so I think if you look at artists as well, like if you look at artists that are really successful, I think Drake does it pretty well. I'm just saying that 'cause I was listening to his that thing he dropped, the care package thing, whatever. But they take a lot of influences from people that have come before them and then you know what I mean? So I feel like that's an interesting way to kind of do that.
So like look at the different people.
Just have a wide spectrum of influences, you know what I mean?
And
If you
that's how you make your unique spin.
100%.
So in this field, in the creative field, I always touch upon how important networking is.
Yeah.
Could you touch on the importance of network for someone who wants to do something like you?
Network is like a life skill. Like I feel like it's in a sense that it's the most overlooked skill in any education or schooling context. You know what I mean? I feel like if you can't network, like you're doing yourself a massive disservice. Like people have gone on to build businesses just off their ability to network. People have gone to like not just to get but like just had successful careers off the ability to network. I think in this industry, networking is so important because especially when you're creatives connected with creatives, like you have to be able to talk to someone else and find out what they do and be like, oh, how can we collaborate on this? You know what I mean? Because that's the only, you can only grow through collaboration technically, and you need as many different collaborations as possible, and that can only be achieved by speaking to as many different people, being in as many different environments as possible in a productive way, though, not just being everywhere and anywhere. But I think your network, like, I mean, when I'm talking about traveling around the world in 80 days, I didn't do that by myself. It's someone I met. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like networking aspects, you have to really, really try and not, you know, I'm not saying you have to like learn it, you know, just be fake and learn people, but I think you have to prioritize it and understand it's important, you know what I mean?
What would your advice be to people who struggle with networking? Because obviously you have different type of people. It's introverts, extroverts, people who struggle with confidence. What would your advice personally be for them?
I think the biggest thing would be like, I'm trying to think of a way to articulate in it. But if it was to me, I'll say just go. Like, so in that sense, I mean, like, someone would be like, oh, do you want to come here? My default response would be like, nah, that's long. But sometimes it's just go and see what's happening. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? So you don't have to say, I'm going there because my objective is to do this.
Yeah.
But if you find someone that's interesting, you find they have a liking to you and you can learn off them, if they give you an opportunity, just go, like, say yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And once you're in that, because you're naturally a passionate or creative person, that will shine through out of, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of opportunities have been by me just being like, you know what, like, although I'd rather just chill at home, let me just go and see what I can learn there.
Yeah.
So be keen to learn.
Do you think the people that you surround yourself with, social influence, can you touch on how important that is in terms of your own development? Like being surrounded by the good people and being surrounded by the wrong people?
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's important that you said good people and wrong people, because what we fail to distinguish is that sometimes some people are not bad people, but they're the wrong people for us. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So I feel like we need to really understand where we're trying to go and look at the people around you and say that, are they leading me in that direction? And when I say that, I don't mean like stop talking to everyone else, so people that don't take, but I say understand in which context people give you value. Do you understand? So I have friends that if I just want to chill and I don't want to do anything with those, that's the perfect group of friends for me to be around. I'm not saying they're bad people, but those are the people I can be around when I want to do that. But then also when I want to be productive and I want to go and get this thing done in a specific context, I need to know the people I need to be around to nurture that. You know what I mean? I can't be around these people and try and achieve this. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that does make sense.
So I think it's always like, in the early days I just cut everybody off, but I've grown to realise that it's not about cutting people off, because the people that are your friends for a reason. We gain different things from different people, because the people that I may just like chilling with emotionally, they nurture me in a way that the people that I work with can't do that. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like you have to be really, really aware of your groups, the groups you're in, and in what context you're in them. And once you can figure that out, it's going to help you a lot more to kind of like, okay, understand your influence or your circle.
So do you feel like people need to kind of look on it from a third person perspective?
Yeah.
And make sure that you're continuously surrounding yourself by the people who like benefit you in different stages?
Yeah, and I think you just have to surround yourself with as many different people as possible, you know what I mean?
Networking.
Yeah, do you understand? Yeah. And once you have done that, you start to realise that, okay, today I know that I want to get this done, innit? So I'm not going to call this person so we can speak for 3 hours, you know what I mean? I might call this person because I know they're going to give me ideas as to how to finish doing what I'm trying to do today.
I guess it's just using your time like wisely, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, use your time wisely. So yeah,
especially for someone like you don't have a lot of spare time.
Yeah, you have to.
So you have to pick and choose.
You have to kind of So I think that's what it is when it comes to social groups. It's kind of like identifying which one of your friends do what, because they're a friend for a reason.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to mean every single reason. You know what I mean?
And moving on to the next one, do you think mentors play an important part in succeeding in the industry?
Yeah, I think mentors are important. Even if your mentors, like, I feel like we have a traditional perception of a mentor. There has to be someone that's more successful than you, that's older, has done this, and that's the ideal mentor, someone who has experience. You kind of get what I'm saying? But some people are wise beyond their age, you know what I mean? And some people have a certain kind of like character that you can just learn from. But I think it's important to always understand that you don't know everything. And I think that's where a mentor comes in, someone who can give you that understanding that this is how you can look at this situation differently. Because I have people who I probably mentor that who would see me as a mentor, and they're not like little kids, or you know what I mean, with people that we probably grew up with, but they see that I have a certain understanding of things that they may not have experienced before. So I definitely think mentors is important. You always have to get to a point where you concede that you don't know everything, so you can learn, and I think that's why mentors is important,
because you can learn from their mistakes, and they can help guide you through yours.
And I think it's best to have as many as possible. I don't think it's all about one mentor, I'm going to go see them, you know what I mean? Some of the people that I see as mentors probably don't even know that they're my mentors, you know what I mean? But I'm still learning from them and taking, you know, understanding.
So everyone defines success differently, right?
Yeah.
How would you say you measure success, and how do you stay motivated? I like to touch on this because let me explain it to you.
Yeah.
I've believed that people consistently compare themselves to other people.
Yeah.
And I feel like, why are you comparing yourself to someone else when we all define success so differently?
Okay, so you're trying to say the different... Okay, that's interesting, yeah.
So how would you measure success, and how do you stay motivated?
With the success one, it's tricky because sometimes it changes, you know. Sometimes it's how much money I've made. Sometimes it's what I see myself doing better than someone else I started out with, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's literally just looking at my life and being like, this is where I started, look where I am now. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes it's like you're in a different country, you know what I mean? And you look around and be like, I didn't imagine that I was going to be able to be here and make this impact and people would come out and see me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's when it comes to measuring success, it's ever changing. I think the one constant thing about success is, for me, is how I can change the experience of the people around me. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whether that be with knowledge, whether that be with money, whether that be with just a better understanding of how I can like love them better. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think that's one constant. You know what I mean? When I can look at my family and be like, I've done this for my family. When my mum, I know that I can do something nice for my mum. Or you know what I mean? I think that's the one thing. That's the only one success that I realise doesn't change, you know what I mean? It doesn't fluctuate. That success of being able to do stuff to change the experience of those around me. Every time I'm able to do that, that feeling is always constant, you know what I mean?
Do you feel like you measure your success through your gratitude? Like
maybe that's the way to put it. Yeah, maybe that's the way to put it, yeah. Maybe that's the way to put it, yeah. Because I know that's one thing that doesn't change. You know what I mean? Sometimes, no matter how much money you have or you make doing something, you just may be like fuck, like I'm not really like on this, you know what I'm saying? Or no matter, you know what I mean? Or no matter how many people are like, oh, like I really love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like you said, it's that one factor that always changes. I think how to stay motivated. Everyone always asks me like this question like every time, and I always have a different answer. But to be honest, I think I got to the point where I said, I honestly don't know. I feel like I'm just a person that I'm just driven to do what I do. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
As long as you're doing what you're doing, you're motivated.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I enjoy what I do, and I'm just trying to, like I said, I get a certain fulfillment of seeing things done. You know what I mean? There's not one specific goal that's like, once I get here, that, you know what I mean? Yeah. I just get a certain fulfillment. So when but I remember when you first started out, it was like, okay, you know, when I can like make a living off it, or when I can get this much, or you know what I'm saying? But I feel like now it's just like, it's what I do. I just enjoy it passionately. I'm driven by it, you know what I mean?
I think that's so important to touch on. If you're in the industry, you need to be able to find your passion, and that is what will continuously drive you to want to become successful.
I think so. Maybe that's it. I think that's what it is.
Find your passion.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to find, you get what I'm saying? But yeah, unfortunately I have to find mine, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes I do things I don't want to do, but at the end of that tunnel, I'm always just like, listen, I just want to keep on going anyway.
I love that. What would be your advice to a young person sitting at home wanting to do what you do?
As specifically poetry, spoken word?
In literally any aspect.
Or any
just one bit of advice for them.
Just try different things. Try as many things as possible. Because I feel like what we do is like, we look at what everyone else is doing and then be like, okay, this bangs for them. Maybe this is my lane, do you understand what I'm saying? Or we look at what everyone else is telling us what to do and we're like, okay, maybe, you know what I mean? I just put it as try bare different things. And even if you don't get anywhere, at least you take the skills along with you. And that's what I think. So if you want to do photography, try it. You're not that good. At least you've learned something about aperture and depth of field, you know what I mean? If you want to do like you're not that good at it, but at least you've learned a bit about shading and dimensions. And then you never know, you might go and make a photography, art, film, movie somewhere, and it's all added together, you know what I mean? If you want to do philosophy, learn it, you know what I mean? Because I found out, especially as the threshold of like, kind of like human creation gets like higher and higher, we've started to stagnate in creativity because people are just doing the same things over and over again. Whether it comes to businesses, making new technology or making new art or making just new like science, you know, I think that's what I say, get as many different things as possible, and if you don't like something, like just keep on moving to the next. While you're young, while you're young, you have the option to keep on trying, you know what I mean? That's what I think it is.
One advice for the teenage Suli.
Teenage Suli. I don't know what advice I
What would you give him?
I don't need for teenage Suli. I don't know. I think I'm just going to be bare skeptical, innit? I don't know, man. I think. What would I give him? It's a tough one, man. Because I actually saw the question and I had the answer, but I can't even remember now. I don't know, man. It's more something along the lines of like the rules don't exist, you know what I mean? I feel like when I was young, which wasn't a bad thing, because some of the rules that I followed kind of kept me out of like things that I shouldn't have been doing anyway.
Yeah.
But I feel like because like I kind of like followed a lot of principles and a lot of rules and trying to like do certain things the right way and waiting, do you understand? Like it made me make a lot of decisions where I was considering people who wasn't considering me, do you understand? Especially when you go into business, you know what I mean? Like business, I had to learn that business is business. It's not necessarily, business doesn't come with integrity. Everyone thinks that I may have integrity as a person, but business doesn't work like that, you know what I mean? So I realized that we have so much more potential to work within these infrastructures and these industries than we know, but because we're following the rules, we're waiting for someone to give us permission, you know what I mean? Or we're waiting for someone to say this is the right way to do it, someone always says this is the only way to do it, but there's never an only way to do it, you know what I mean?
So do you think outside the box?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, yeah, do you know what I'm saying?
Outside the box.
Yeah, I think more
think
so.
outside the box.
Even further than I was when I was young, you know what I mean? I thought out, but even further, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what can we expect from you? What's coming up?
At the moment, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know. I'm just writing a lot, you know, creating a lot. When I figure out exactly what's coming up, I can let you know what I mean? But I'm just writing a lot, creating a lot, and I'll figure it out. But obviously, at the same time as well, I'm always working on business, like business kind of ventures, you know. I'm actually working on a podcast that I was working on, which involves like talking to entrepreneurs and stuff about business and how they grew their business. So that's one thing I'm doing as well. But I think I'm in the education process of myself, where I'm learning a lot about entrepreneurship and building like companies and stuff, and more importantly companies. I've seen it done by a lot of companies, and I've had first-hand experience of being part of this process, you know what I mean, just as a creative. So I'm trying to be like business that help, like that operate within the artistic field, you know what I mean. I think there's so much room for disruption, so I'm just working on learning different stuff around that.
Would you like to shout out your socials?
Everything's at Suli Breaks. That's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Those are the main ones. Facebook maybe, Suli Breaks.
Do you have Snapchat?
I don't use it anymore, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, why don't I use it anymore?
Because Instagram is
that's probably why. Yeah, that's probably why actually. I don't use it no more. Not at all.
This is the end of the video. I would just like to thank you so much for
no,
coming on and sharing your story. Thank you for coming on and being a guest and sharing your story to the people at home. And that's it from me, your girls out.